This is my sixth take on trying to explain this concept on how the growth works when it comes to rectangles and squares. And all it is, it's based on a rotation that it takes to make the turn. So when we look at the height of a double crochet versus half versus single, is that the rotation to go around is different for each one of these things. So when it's a single crochet here that you'll see, this is what that means, is that you will see that the rotation is a lot quicker in order to do that. So if I put 2 single crochets here, then chain 2, and then 2 single crochets, this whole thing is going to be out of sync, and I'm going to have an extra stitch, and this blanket will not sit flat, and you'll start to have a ruffle. So when we go to look at the height of a double crochet, it's much taller. So because it's much taller, we need to add an extra stitch in there to compensate for the rotation that it will take in order to make that turn. So some designers could actually put in 3 double crochet depending on what is happening within the round itself. But generally speaking, it's usually always 2. So people always get confused. Well, if you got 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, how are you getting 4 extra stitches per side? That's because there's 2 sides, right? So you're going to have these 2 here that you're adding. So there's 1 and 2. Chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So you have 1 and 2, and then you have 1 and 2. So this means double crochet would have increased it by 4 stitches when you did this round number 5. So when we did round number 4, you can see that there was only 1 single crochet here in the corner. So the single crochet, chain 2 single crochet, but there was only 1 here and here. So if it was a single crochet round, you're only increasing each side by 2. So it really depends on this. This is called faux popcorn, this one here. And in order to keep the maintenance, because we were using a treble and a single crochet, the height that this was pushing it up to, we needed that extra stitch in order to make the revolution to go around for the height. So even though it's single crochet, there was a treble here, which then made this single crochet taller than a typical one that you see here. Single crochet rounds, each side generally increases by 2 stitches. So you have 2 that were added to the corners because you're just filling in what was already there. And then double crochet rounds, each side, they'll increase by 4. So 1, 2 has been added, 3 and 4 here. And so the stitches shown in green show you the next stitches that were added to complete the turn, which is here, just like you see. And so if you do not get this stitch count properly, then what happens is that your blanket will buckle or it will start to ruffle. For crocheters that do not decide to do a stitch gauge or a swatch, and they decide to just go for it and without checking their hook to the yarn to match what the designer has said, they can end up, even though this is correct for the designer, if the crocheter is tighter and it will cause a problem within the corners, which will cause the buckle and the ruffling. And also if the crocheter is too loose and they're not matching it, it means if they're too loose that these will be much taller, and so they'll end up with a ruffle or a buckle happening at the same time as well. So when it comes to doing these items in a circle, if a crocheter decides not to run a gauge swatch when it's been provided to them, they're basically on their own. And so when they go on social media and complain that their blanket is not sitting flat, most likely, not in every case, but most likely, is that the crocheter decided not to run a gauge, and therefore the hook is not matching the yarn properly because the person's hands are not matching what the designer did. So you need to run those gauge swatches when it comes to that, and I know that's a bad word on its own. So hopefully this is helpful. This is available for download, just in case you want to print it out and put it with your little folder where you keep all your crochet patterns, and hopefully that means something for you. That's it. How did I do?